evening. This is a regular scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. There are agendas available in the file pockets near the entrance or online on the City of Waterville website. All items appearing on the consent agenda are voted on in one motion and vote. Generally, these items are routine in nature and do not require discussion. All items listed under unfinished business or new business are voted on separately. First, councilors will be given an opportunity for questions or comments. Once all councilors have had an opportunity to speak, citizens will be given an opportunity for comments or questions. Citizens must speak at the podium and identify themselves. Each citizen will be allowed one opportunity to speak and will be limited to 3 minutes. Finally, the councilors will be given another opportunity to speak or comment. Citizens who would like to speak on a topic that does not appear on tonight's agenda will have an opportunity to do so under the public comment section of the agenda. So please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, does anyone have a conflict of interest tonight? Looks like we have none. So we'll move on to the reports. City Manager, Acting City Manager.
Yes, thank you. I did just get a text also from Jay and Councilor Klepak. They'll be here in a couple of minutes.
Great.
As you know, my written report is in the packet that's available on the website. I do highlight a couple of things from that report. Tonight, first of all, I was on vacation for a couple of weeks, and I wanted to thank Finance Director Christina Tarian for filling in for me and the department heads for all of their help and assistance during that time. We had some issues, as everyone's well aware of, that were dealt with, as well as I think they could have been at that point. So I appreciate all of their assistance in that. I also wanted to report that our interim Deputy Police Chief Lincoln Ryder is retiring from the Waterville Police Department the end of this month, as of June 30th. He has been with the City of Waterville's Police Department for over 20 years, about 20 and a half years. Been in law enforcement for 29 years total. So it's going to be big shoes to fill for interim Deputy Chief Ryder. He was our detective sergeant prior to being interim Deputy Chief, but we certainly thank him and wish him the best in his future work. While I say he's retiring, he's already applying for another full-time job. So. Also, some more good news out of the police department. Sarah Batiste, who is our Regional Communications Center's interim supervisor, back in May received the main chapter of the National Emergency Number Association Dispatch Supervisor of the Year Award. It was the beginning of May, and this award is chosen by the main chapter of the NENA, it's called for short. She was very surprised by the award and pleased, and it's a tremendous achievement because she's only been serving as the interim supervisor since September of last year. So to be nominated by her peers and recognized for the amount of work that she's put in and done in that short amount of time is pretty amazing. So congratulations to Sarah for that. I attended the ceremony along with interim Chief Bonnie, and she was pleasantly surprised with that. Just a couple of other things to bring up quickly. The legislation, the PSAP legislation for the public safety answering point did come out of committee with an ought to pass. As amended, the amendments were friendly amendments, just some minor language changes that doesn't affect really the legislation intent. It has not been scheduled yet for a vote by the legislature, but I'm pretty confident that it'll pass. That means that our dispatch center will then become a public safety answering point. We are working on with the state and getting the equipment in place, making some slight modifications to the area where the equipment has to be put in place and the like. So we're working swiftly on that. And I'd like to announce also that I was appointed to the Maine Municipal Association's Education and Training Advisory Council on May 17th. This is the first council that that MMA has had for training and education. And essentially what the council role is to support and advise MMA in developing and overseeing municipal education training needs across the state of Maine for all positions in municipal government. The council is going to be working with educational institutions, community college system, the university system, as well as private colleges, other municipalities, and training providers as well, to try to bolster training programs and the ranks for municipal employees, because we are seeing a lack of municipal employees or those interested in municipal work. So this is one of their attempts to try to do that. So I'm one of, I think, 15 that will be serving on the council going forward. That's the highlights. If there are any questions, I certainly will answer those.
Councilor Frankie.
At the last meeting, a resident raised some concerns about the way that the city notified people in emergency situations, notably the don't drink the water that happened a few weeks ago. Is there any progress on the city setting up some kind of notification system?
Yes, we are making progress on that. That was an initiative that I had started to undertake and tasked the executive assistant and IT with reviewing different companies and different mechanisms for providing a notification system. So they are, we actually met last week to review all of the different providers, and we've come to, I'm reviewing their recommendation now. But it will most likely have to be a two-pronged approach so that we can make sure that we have notifications in place for all of those that don't necessarily have smartphones. We're looking at an app that would be downloaded that would be tailored specifically for Waterville, that people could subscribe to different types of notifications that they would want to get on their smartphones, but that doesn't address the concerns of folks that don't have smartphones. So we're looking at another mechanism that would basically call all those phones that would be registered with the system when it comes to an emergency notification. So it would be a two-pronged approach for that. So I'm hoping that, assuming the budget passes, because we do have funding in the budget for the notification system, that pretty early on, after the budget gets passed, within maybe 6 weeks or so, we may be able to launch at least one of those notification systems, if not both of them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, just in a minute, I just want to say a word of congratulations to you on your appointment to the council. And also, I mean, it just strikes me as you read your report of the number of Waterville employees who have been recognized for various awards and some previously as well. And although we did miss you greatly, the city really was in good hands in your absence, clearly, and you have a great team. So I just wanted to mention that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We certainly do. The city is in very good hands with the department heads that we have, and the finance director being a former town manager as well certainly helps to have that experience. So again,
Really
I thank them, and
Yeah.
that it's well recognized that they're an excellent team that we have.
Yeah, Paula. Yes, if you, well, I think so, if it's pertaining to the report. Yep, sure, go ahead. We can, yep.
Good evening, Paula Raymond from Ward 7. And Bill, congratulations on your new position. And with that, I was curious, you mentioned at the collegiate post-secondary level is what you're looking at. Is there any reason why you wouldn't look at a high school level and adult ed level? Or has it just not been approached or talked about?
No, that is, I left that out of my report, but as an educational institution, we're also looking at high school as well with the different training schools. Because there are certainly many municipal jobs that don't require college educations.
Right, right.
So we're certainly looking at that as well.
How will you approach like the adult ed program or the local high schools to let them know what's going on and what your expectations are, what the curriculum might be that would advance somebody into looking for a career in city work?
Too early for me to say at this point because I was just appointed, so we haven't had our first meeting yet.
Okay.
But
very
I believe
good.
the first meeting happens in, I think it's August.
Will you keep us posted, though,
absolutely.
on what's going on? And I'm assuming that you might put it on the website as far as that goes, or is it just going to be something different as far as you letting the community know how that's working?
We'll develop that as it comes along. Yes, as we progress with the meetings.
I'd be very interested in what's happening and what their expectations are, where I do teach in the adult ed program.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to council committees. Do we have any reports or comments? Councilor Frankie?
The Historical Preservation Committee has met, and we're currently discussing the possibility of a historic preservation ordinance to bring before the council. We're currently looking at some of the other ordinances around the state. For instance, Biddeford has a very comprehensive ordinance. Probably the biggest thing is we may have to form a commission that would consider how to list properties, and then there would also have to be a procedure for people who object to. So anyway, that's what we're looking at on the Historical Preservation Committee.
Great, thank you. Councilor Klepak?
The Resiliency Committee met yesterday and selected a chair. I'm the chair. So the city is part of the community resiliency partnership, and as part of that, we're exploring applications for the action grant, and so we're looking to submit something by the 7th along a number of priorities. We haven't the grant hasn't been written yet, but we're hoping to potentially get an EV vehicle for the new community resource officer and a charging station that would be associated with that. And if there's more money left in the grant, we're going to try to talk to the schools and potentially get some heat pumps in one of the schools. So that's what we did there.
Awesome.
Chief.
Hi. Thank you. And I'll turn it over to the mayor, and I have one other note on committees. Yeah, which is the Housing Committee, which is going to, normally we would meet on the second Tuesday, which would be second Wednesday, which would be next week, but our meeting's going to be postponed probably till the 28th this month. So as always, you can check the city website for notification of the meeting, and email Ann Beveridge for a link to attend the meeting. Or you can come in person. We meet at the Elm at 4 o'clock. We meet at City Hall at 4 o'clock. All right.
All right.
So we're done with council committees.
All right. Public comments? Anyone from the public with comments? Moving on to the consent agenda.
Second.
Oh, everybody's here.
Yep.
You gonna vote?
Show of hands.
All in favor? Yep. All right.
We make a motion to take the agenda title only. Is that second?
Thank you. All in favor? This is a lot easier.
Yeah.
It is. Quicker.
Sure, you guys do it when I'm leaving. I see how this goes. Go ahead. Are we vote? Did you have to vote on that?
So, well, we
Vote on what?
On the consent
did.
agenda?
We just voted on it.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
Yeah.
So we're on
So,
order 79.
Order 79, 2023.
move to adopt.
Second.
So I would, I would recommend that the council table this item indefinitely. This was being worked on while I was away with our city attorney and with our airport manager, and there's more work that needs to be done. So I would recommend that we postpone this indefinitely.
Okay, and just for folks who may not have an agenda in front of them, this is to approve a T-hanger lease for Lot 18.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Move to table indefinitely.
Yeah. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
This is an order, so it actually needs a roll call.
Okay, roll call.
Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito? Yes. Counselor Klepak?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes.
Counselor McCormick?
Yes.
Vote is 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay, moving on to ordinance 95, 2023.
Amend the zoning ordinance veterinary clinics.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? All right,
Roll call.
roll call.
Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito? Yes. Counselor Klepak?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes.
Counselor McCormick?
Yes.
Vote is 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
I know all the vets are booked, so if you guys want to point, I'd start calling now, but one of those spots is mine. All right, moving
Congrats.
on to ordinance 96, 2023.
Amend the zoning ordinance parking.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And this is for the parking over on the corner of the Temple project there.
Head of Falls Village, yes, this
All right.
directly affects that.
Any discussion?
Well, this is actually
Gotta change
to
everything.
change all the parking,
Right.
not
Change-
just
yeah, right.
Oh,
a specific
I mean,
thing.
but it's reducing it by like 6 inches, right?
Yes.
I mean, it makes,
Right.
I feel like that.
It's,
Anybody else?
it's in the commercial A zone?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Roll call.
Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes.
Counselor McCormick?
Yes.
Vote is 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Moving on to new business, resolution 102, 2023.
Authorize the issuance of a marijuana manufacturing license to Wildfire LLC.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And this is the one that's got the non-harmful chemicals, right? Like,
That's correct, yes, this
yeah, this
has
is the
been,
one we talked about.
this has been in front of the council for a zoning change back and forth into the planning board.
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? All opposed? Done deal. All right. Moving on to resolution 103, 2023.
Authorize the application for financial assistance for the Pine Ridge Recreation Area.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Nope.
Mayor, I recommend that the council table this until your next meeting, simply because we have some other information that's come to light recently, so we'd like to look at that before the council votes on this.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Roll, all in favor? Resolution 104, 2023. Run right through this.
Refer to the Planning Board zoning map amendment, Thomas College Solar Farms.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Can I get a roll,
Can we,
go ahead.
can we hear a little bit about the project?
Yeah.
Yes, we do have the representative from Thomas College here.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Tom Warren, acting COO at Thomas College. So this project is in alignment with both our fiscal and environmental sustainability goals. We're looking to install a solar farm to provide electricity both to our university and also through the net energy billing program.
Where is it cited on your parcel?
So we're looking at 3 parcels in total. 2 are contiguous on the west side of West River Road, and the other is across the road on the east side. It's south of Vining Road on the west side.
How many acres are you planning?
About 11 on each parcel.
So the map that you, that was included in the, is for the entire project?
Correct.
Is there, you're asking for us to, asking for us to change a residential zone, are there residences abutting that zone?
Yes, there are.
Have they been
There-
notified?
Well, this is just to send it to the
We're
planning
just,
board.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
we're
we're
just
just
sending
sending
to
to the
planning board.
planning
All right,
board.
that makes you, gotcha.
Yeah.
Never mind then.
Fair enough.
Happy now.
We'll have those questions after you come back from the planning board.
Well, the other question I have is the section that's currently zoned industrial. Is that going to be a matter of removing 10 acres of trees?
Possibly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Can I get a roll call? Actually, all in favor?
All in favor?
Done deal. All right. Moving on to Order 105, 2023.
Appropriation of municipal and school operating budgets for the period of July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Nope. Okay, roll. No, I'm just kidding.
I do want to point out that from the agenda material that was submitted with the packet last week and posted for the public, I had gone through the budget this weekend and had several changes, increased some revenues, some projected revenues, and also reduced some expenses, which I had emailed out to the council this weekend. I made some further adjustments today as more information came in, with a $40,000 increase in expected interest earnings on accounts. I just want to touch base on it real quick and say that our new finance director, she's not new anymore, she's been with us for a year, but our finance director had identified another institution to be able to invest some of our funds in, and we've seen a significant increase in the rate of return, which is very, very good for us, of course. As a matter of fact, we just saw another increase in the rate, I want to say, last week. And they notify us when it goes up. We don't have to ask. They automatically increase the rate when the rates go up, which is nice. So there's a $40,000 increase in earnings that I've budgeted for as one of those changes. And I eliminated the capital expense for paving as well because I had already budgeted for that out of the TIF fund, so I didn't have to include that in the capital side of it. So that was another roughly $86,000 decrease in expenses. So overall, the changes amount to approximately $575,780 increase in revenues that we're expected to receive, and a decrease in expenses of $397,986,000. Some of those decreases include the new positions that we've recommended not starting them until January for most of them. One of them starting July 1st in the HR department, one starting September 1st for the community development officer role, and the others not starting until January. There is also additional funding and expenses for potential new council chambers, as the council is aware. That is moving forward. Obviously can't comment too much about that at this point. But I've had some estimated numbers in there for renovation costs, as well as what the costs are for leasing and utility expenses and the like that I included in this in the revised numbers.
Any questions for Bill? Go ahead, Claude.
What is the, before you make your adjustments, what is the total amount of this year's budget that's being requested?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Claude?
What is the total amount being requested in the budget?
Before the adjustments?
Yes.
So before the adjustments that I'm proposing, the total budgeted amount would be $58,487,047. That includes the TIF amounts as well, estimated TIF amounts. In the budget order itself, which also was revised to reflect those changes that I emailed out late this afternoon, the budget order does not include those TIF amounts because those aren't set until the tax rate is set. And those are set prior when the council approves those TIF agreements as they come up through the years. So what the 58,487,047 was the original with the estimated TIFs.
And I don't know if you can answer this one, but could you refresh my memory as to what the total was for last year?
Sure. So the current budget year that we're in, we are at $53,225,502. So we are looking at, originally, we were looking at about a $5.2 million increase, school and city combined. Now we're looking at approximately $4.8 million combined increase, school and city.
And so that's the 9% decrease that you show in this secondary?
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Bill, we were what, $1.8 million in the hole before we even started budget season?
When we started, we were approximately 1.3 million that I needed to find, and what that amounted to was commitments that the council had made, particularly around the police union contracts, both for the command staff and the patrol union. That was approximately 450,000. The commitment that the council had agreed to for non-union employees, last year we were moved to 60th percentile of the wage study, and this year the commitment was to the 75th percentile, which was budgeted, and that's about 140,000. We also have, in this year's budget that's not going into next year's, was the use of one-time revenues from the ARPA account of 338,000 for certain positions that were created, and $250,000 from our unassigned capital fund balance, which obviously was a one-time use. We don't have that. So all of those combined is around $1.2 million in the whole. Then we also anticipated the IACP, International Association of Chiefs of Police, organizational study of the police department, changing the organizational structure. So we have budgeted for two, I don't want to call them deputy chief positions, but major positions, lieutenant positions in that role. So
Which
those
wasn't
have been
in last year's budget.
that weren't in last year's budget as well. We had a lieutenant's position that we never filled, but we had an expense added for those two positions, about $150,000 or so. So all of that together was about 1.3 million that we had to start the budget year trying to absorb or budget for this next budget year.
Gotta love inflation.
And then inflation with the costs of everything increasing, as everybody knows, from electricity to gas to diesel to supplies to vehicles, parts for vehicles, you name it.
Any other questions for Bill? Oh, Claude. Sorry.
Go ahead. Well, I just thought it would be helpful, again, for those listening at home, to have a summary of the new positions that are in this budget.
Sure. So, as I mentioned, the police positions that will be in this year's budget for those two command level positions. We also have in the budget a full-time executive assistant in the Human Resources Office, which is a department of one currently and has been for many years. That position is slated to start July 1st. We have an administrative assistant position in the airport that now would be, with the changes, would be slated to begin January 1st. And that would assist with marketing the airport, with having somebody really to expand the use of the airport and hopefully bring more revenue in to help offset the costs there. We also have, trying to think, a third information technology technician that would help with the overload that they're facing on a daily basis, and hopefully do some forward-thinking work with IT instead of putting out fires, as it were. And we also have a community development officer position in the planning and community development budget. And this is new, and this is one of those positions that I propose to move forward with the council's goal of around housing, trying to create a housing plan for the city, trying to tap into grants, trying to work with developers, private developers, public developers as well, nonprofits, and really put together a housing plan so it's not us waiting for developers, maybe being a little bit more proactive there, and also working on future initiatives that most likely will come to the council for approval in the future, such as a land bank or home repair funds, things like that. So that position would be doing that. One of the positions that I did recommend to be cut, that would have been a new position, would have been an equipment operator position in the Public Works Department. I think it is needed, but we do have to make tough choices. The way the labor market is currently, we've had vacancies in those positions, so I'm not real confident that if we added another position, we'd be able to fill it easily. So that's one of the reasons I looked at that as a spot where we could reduce for this next year. But it will be back next year. I can tell you that it will be another ask next year. I think that is all of those new positions.
Right, so these positions were proposed last year, I think, with the exception of the community development officer.
Yes, the community development officer and the police department positions, other than one lieutenant, those were,
Right.
all the rest of them were recommended and put into last year's budget, requested in last year's budget, and approved by the city manager to move forward. But then were cut at the, as we went through the budget process with the council.
Claude?
Well, my question is not particularly about the budget, but I just wondered how we stand in terms of staffing. Are we fully up to speed now, or do we still have lots of vacancies?
I won't say we have lots of vacancies. We still have some vacancies. We're still looking for some support personnel and administration in the code office. We still have some openings in the police department, certainly. However, I will say that the hiring in the police department is really looking up again. We're seeing some what are called blue pin candidates, which are those candidates that are fully certified police officers. We actually have one starting, a blue pin, if you will, starting a couple of weeks from now. We have another one that's expressed interest and I believe is filling out application materials. So that's definitely a good sign for us to have officers that can come in and hit the ground running, so to speak. We do have some openings in Public Works. That's probably, Public Works right now is one of the hardest hit places that we have. We have, I believe, it's either 2 or 3 equipment operator positions that are open. We have some labor positions open, which we always have, it seems. I think we still have a mechanic position open. So, we have positions that need to be filled. The job market still is very difficult for us. I can certainly tell you that the increase in wages that the council has provided for this fiscal year and looking at for next year, I think certainly help. It allows us to be competitive, not with just other municipalities, but also with the private sector as well.
And does the wage increases that we've done bring the equipment operators in line with market wages?
It does. They're just they're skilled positions, so they're difficult to fill.
Yeah. And then the other question I had was, can you tell me a little bit about the successful candidate for the second HR slot?
That will be an internal, most likely an internal hire.
I got you. So it's someone who has a familiarity with our system already.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got you.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Could you say something about the solar exemption reimbursement? Because
Yes, that's new.
New.
Yes.
Okay.
So in the revenue changes, you'll notice one thing that we knew was going to be coming on board. If you know the two or three solar farms that have been constructed over the last 18 months or so in the city, anything that's less than 5 megawatts has a property tax exemption, very much like a homestead exemption or veterans, that type of thing. But the state does reimburse us for roughly half of that exemption. So we don't get the full amount back from the state, but we do get half. Up until recently, we didn't know what the value of those was going to be, and the assessor has done tremendous work in trying to look at what other communities have done with valuing those types of installations. So he's finally come up with a value for that, and talked with him last week, and that number represents our approximate, half of what our reimbursement is, or our full reimbursement, but half of what it would be if they were fully taxed. But
Great.
it is something, so.
Any other questions? You good?
Yeah, I do have one other, it's not a question, but I just wanted to just summarize the funds that we're spending from our ARPA funds in this budget.
Yes, so we have two places, if you will, that I'm proposing, or we're proposing to use the ARPA funding. $50,000 was designated by the Finance Committee through the budget process, to use towards outside agencies through the application process that the ARPA Committee had developed last year. So that's using the $50,000 of ARPA funds for that. And then I'm suggesting that we use $100,000 of ARPA funds for the potential renovation of new council chambers location, because it's a one-time expense.
Right.
I do believe that location, and again, we can't get into too much there because we're in negotiations, but it can be used more than just for council chambers. So I think that there's many benefits to that location.
Many benefits that we were asked to provide for the community.
Correct. We are responding to some needs.
Yeah.
We can't talk about all of it, but that space is going to, a lot of what we talked about during the BBB and all that other stuff is going to be able to take place in this new location.
Yeah.
It certainly has the capability, and we just have to work through the process, yes.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Counselor Gilly,
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito, yes. Counselor Klepak,
Yes.
Counselor Green,
Yes.
Counselor Morris,
Yes.
Counselor Frankie,
Yes.
Counselor McCormick.
Yes.
Vote is 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
That was the weakest yup you have ever given us.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
No, we do have an executive session.
That's right, executive session.
I moved we can go into executive session
In pursuant to
some
something,
Come
Bill
on,
can
this is
tell
what
us.
Patty always reads us the.
Thank you for that budget season.
You're welcome.